Hey, what's going on, guys? Kaoiji here. So there are a couple things that I wanted to talk about when it comes to transferring weapons over into New Genesis. Recently, since the first closed beta test in Japan, we've seen that there are a good deal of people who seem to be preparing every single rarity for their conversion when it comes to New Genesis. So what I mean by that is whenever you have certain rarities of weapons, they then get converted into 1 to 4 stars in New Genesis. Now, my honest answer to this is I don't see the reason why, and we're going to go over that. But as always, if you guys enjoy the video, then do me a favor and please like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts as always, because it really does help out the channel. So when it comes to transferring weapons over into New Genesis, there are a couple things that we need to understand. One is that whenever you have a 1 to 6 star weapon, it then gets converted into a 1-star weapon, a 7 to 12 star weapon gets converted into a 2-star, a 13 to 14 star weapon gets converted into a 3-star, and then a 15-star weapon gets converted into a 4-star. But it ultimately doesn't stop there. The main benefit to transferring a weapon over is the fact that they'll already have your augments on them. In addition to that, then when you transfer over, they will then also automatically be at enhancement level 40 during use in Phantasy Star Online 2 New Genesis. Keep in mind that this also doesn't just apply to weapons, this also applies to units. So units that are enhancement level 10 will then also get changed into enhancement level 40 during Phantasy Star Online 2 New Genesis. Now, one final thing to keep in mind is that the element of the weapon will be negated and set to 0 during use in Phantasy Star Online 2 New Genesis. So let's say you have a weapon in Phantasy Star Online 2. Let's say your Crass and AR weapons that you've been affixing, getting ready to get over into Phantasy Star Online 2. Or let's say you had a 7-star rifle that you were using, something that could, give you a nice power boost when it comes to Phantasy Star Online 2 New Genesis. That way, as you're leveling up, that gives you less of an opportunity to need to switch weapons. Or so you think. Let's say that the elemental value on that weapon was 60. It would then be considered 0 when it comes to Phantasy Star Online 2 NGS. Now, this is what I want to start talking about, the fact that you may not actually need to be able to start prepping weapons when it comes to NGS. So the weapons that we get in NGS will just naturally be stronger than the ones that we transfer in from PSO2. While they 100% are definitely power increases, or at least, a head start, for those of you guys who are worried about, do I actually need to do this? The answer is no. So I want to use the example of an AR weapon that was then transferred from PSO2 over into NGS. Now, the AR weapon at plus 35, because for whatever reason during the closed beta test, they didn't get transferred into plus 40, only has 230 attack. And I say only because this actually isn't a lot compared to weapons that already drop in PSO2 New Genesis. Now, given the idea that some of the mathematical values that people have found already, this might cap out at 240 damage, but let's just go into a weapon that dropped naturally at a 3-star in NGS. Now, I'm going to be using the Japanese wiki again to be able to confirm a lot of the information that we have, because we still haven't had an actual closed beta test in the global version of the game at the time of recording this video. So using the Japanese wiki, we can find out that the attack power on a 3-star assault rifle is actually 223 with absolutely no further upgrades. Now, these are equipable at level 11. Now, again, these values are very much so subject to change, but you can already see that a plus 35 AR weapon that got transferred into NGS would only be slightly stronger than the weapon that's already in NGS. However, based on some of the information that other people have found, assuming that everything stays the same by the main release, you can then find that a 3-star weapon will then max out at 255 in the attack value, making it already a lot stronger than the one that we then transfer into, which only has at plus 35, 230 power or attack power. Now, the big thing here to keep in mind is that you'd actually need to be worried about your fixes, because assuming that even though these weapons are stronger, the weapons that you then transfer in from PSO2 already have augments on them, meaning that after the conversion and, the way that damage gets calculated, those could potentially be stronger. But just looking at weapons as they are alone, with no augments whatsoever, it stands to reason that when it comes to the weapon department, there is little to no reason to worry about what then gets transferred over into NGS. But then when it comes to talking about units, you might then realize that the only thing that really happens here, most of the time, the standard rules of combat will then remain the same, so long as you're not fighting an enemy that is like way above where your unit level would be. You can get across with some basic units that either have no affixes when it comes to NGS, or even just the ones that you then transfer over from PSO2 into NGS. It doesn't really matter what they are, because since affixing is a lot easier in NGS, all you have to really worry about is finding units that'll then, last you a little bit longer. And since we have more information when it comes to weapons than units, if the idea or logic remains the same, then it only stands to reason that you shouldn't have to really worry too much about your units over from PSO2 into NGS either. Ultimately, based on this information, it really doesn't matter whether or not you're transferring weapons from PSO2. Ultimately, they'll be two different games. While you don't want to get rid of the weapons that you're going to have in PSO2 and you still want to work on them, again, assuming they add more content or they start adding, more crossover stuff where it requires you to log into PSO2, my honest opinion is that you still want to be working on your weapons and units in PSO2, but maybe not in the idea that you want to work on them for NGS. But anyway, guys, I'm going to end the video out here. I hope that this was able to help you in any sort of way, at least start preparing for NGS. And then they hopefully, if you're anything like me, then take some of the weight off your shoulders. Now, again, a lot of the information that we currently have about NGS is still very subject to change, and they might make base weapons coming from PSO2 just slightly stronger, so that way they have a little bit more or prolonged use. But ultimately, even if they do that, I still wouldn't really worry about it too much. Play the games at your own pace and make whatever prep that you personally want to do. Even if you feel like you want to play, NGS coming from scratch, or you feel like you're worried on missing out on something, I wouldn't worry about a thing. Ultimately, just enjoy the game. I think a lot of us are already of the mindset that fashion is really the only thing that we really need to worry about anyway. And while I've mentioned it in previous videos, I'm still going to be working on, getting God affixes on all of my weapons and units, which ultimately will then transfer over into PSO2. I'm not really too worried about getting one of each in particular rarity, because I really don't see the reason for it. But anyway, guys, thank you guys again for watching as always. I'm actually ending the video out here now. So with that, stay awesome, stay beautiful, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace. I'm out.